Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sketch Club. I am Jason Meyer, and, well, good for them, bad for us. The girls are out and about right now. Being safe, but out and about. So it looks like it's me and you, kiddos. Me and you. Hey, Sue Nash made it. This window got small. There we go. Let's see what Sue's up to. Hey, Sue. And Janny made it. And Claudia's here. Paula just flew in. You're going to need to relax a minute, Paula, for this one. You're going to need to relax a minute. Whew. A challenging evening. Yes, this is going to be a little bit challenging on the first one. So I want everybody to be nice and relaxed and not too attached to what they're doing. But I would love it. I would love it. And if you're in the class, I insist upon it to give it a go. Okay, so it might seem like you're getting lost and everything, but I want you to give it a go, okay? The second one's going to be easy breezy after we do this first one together, okay? Excellent. Mr. Tom here. Excellent. All right, we got a good crowd tonight, guys. It's good to see everybody. Let's see. Today is Tuesday evening, so tomorrow morning we're going to have a morning jump start. If you happen to miss this morning's jump start on YouTube, we have a Meyer Studio channel there as well. There's a playlist with morning jump starts on there. And this one was on values. And we titled it The Value of Structure and the Structure of Values. And I thought it was a very good progression from kind of beginning to end on the four values and what it means for a painting and how to really use it so that you gain control over what's happening. So anyway, anybody of interest, you might want to check that out. I felt that was some good info this morning. Hey, wouldn't be the same. Wouldn't be the same. Probably wouldn't be at all without Miss Cindy. Hey, baby. So even when she's off, she's still on. All right, guys. Well, we got 15 minutes tonight, so we're gonna get at it, and we'll be back tomorrow morning for morning jump start on YouTube. This will be the final sketch club for this week here on Facebook. But yeah, a couple more programs on YouTube Wednesday and Thursday morning. All right, guys. Oh, look at that. Look at it. She's all over it. She's already got the link from this morning. Boom. So anyway, take a look. I thought it was good, and I hope you guys find it useful. All right, if you guys are ready, stretch those shoulders. All right. So give it a go. Give this first one a go. You can do it. Let's do it. All right. So let's see. So the first one, as promised, not only is it a hand, it's a hand coming directly at you. And not only is it a hand coming directly at you, it is my hand coming directly at you. So you know how sensitive I am about my hands. So you guys don't make me cry, okay? But if you have a good look at that, look up at the top of where the hand turns to the wrist. And that sweater goes around it. Do you see how that sweater squared off a little bit? Well, we've been talking a little bit about going from round to square, from straight to curve. And that's exactly why I started with that nice corner up there. Because that's going to help give the structure to the wrist. And so that all this puffy, fluffy, cylinder-like hand stuff will have something to play against. Okay? And think of the thumb as just a cylinder, right? A cylinder. Think in big generalities first, and then we'll break it down into smaller pieces. What kind of tool is this? Hey, are you drawing, Paula? Are you drawing? Are you trying to distract the teacher? That is a tack remover. So if I prepare traditional canvas or linen, raw linen, I have a 9 foot by 3 foot stretcher bar that I put it on, and I tack it on there with tacks and a hammer, just like you see in the old days. And then I prep the canvas, rabbit skin glue, lead several paints of lead white paint, and then once it's set up, I untack it from the stretcher bars and I roll it up, and then I have canvas to work on for a while. So what you're seeing right there is a tack remover, and I'm using it for a bit of a smaller job, removing a staple on the back of a frame. Okay, so you guys see where the dark is that I locked in on there? I locked in on that crevice between the thumb and the forefinger as a point of reference. And notice where that crevice starts in relation to the corner of the sweater we started with. So we're always relating. And to make this come at us, it's got to get bigger, right? So I didn't do too drastic here, but even though that's more or less, except the little curve at the end, the same size from the end of it to the handle, I'm making the handle end smaller and going to make the end near us larger. And that's going to help have the effect of coming towards us. Okay, so lots of concentrating. So in something this complicated, what can we pick out that we can use? Well, we can pick the relative flatness of that thumbnail with kind of the puffiness or roundness, the fullness of the thumb itself. Right, so some of this is about what we can grab onto, and then from the thumb, notice how that piece, right, what that works around to the forefinger. So find those rhythms. Find those rhythms. And we're just working in vine charcoal now, so we're gonna have a chance to scrape if we need to, or move around a little bit. But think of it very, very simply. Very, very simply to begin with. And then if we get some big, simple forms right, then we can start breaking these down into smaller forms. So I think that sweater is very useful. So I'm going to use that as a point to come out of. Now I have to think about, okay, how is this being lit? And where's the shadow part of this finger and thumb? Right, that's going to help with the three-dimensionality of this. So I'm just putting a shadow on a cylinder. Okay, adjusting my drawing just a bit. Okay, so some of those marks, I want to use those to help describe the thumb. Right, the cylinder of the thumb. There's the end of the crevice between my thumb and forefinger. And notice how with those kind of bends, I worked that around from the thumb to the hand over towards the forefinger. Right, so the way this wraps around can be very descriptive. Again, don't worry about being perfect. Just give it a good go. Give it a go. If this is your first time painting a hand, I'm sure you're having a grand old time. But stick with it. Stick with it. Because how you learn to do a hand, how you learn to do a hand well, is to do some hands bad. But if you don't do them bad, you'll never do them well. And trust me, nobody came out doing a good hand. They can be tough, tough, tough. The idea can be simple, some simple cylinders, some simple shapes there, but man, getting them all related, right size, in space, going near to far, that can be a little trickier. And remember, there's a hard, soft, hard edge sequence to everything. Everything that has form anyway. And then I can describe a table or a surface with a cast shadow. I'm not going to put it all the way back like you see it. I'm just going to use it literally to say, oh, there's a table right here. All right, so I'm thinking about another cylinder now. Dreaming of cylinders. Dreaming of cylinders. Have very many of you got to the last chapters of the charcoal forms course, the combining forms, and then the review? So if you had, I'd like to know if you're finding that useful when it comes to things like this. You know, to decoding something as complex as a hand. And the other thing, it is important if you do watch them to let me know what you think. Because I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but we can only look through our own eyes. So I can only see what I see. So you may see something that I don't see. So that would help me out if you let me know that. Hey, that was great. Or, man, that was the worst $25 I've ever spent. Woof. It's all good. I need to know. I need to know. Okay, so now we're going to put these little claws at the end here. Again, just to get this coming right at you. And a little detail. Now, how are we going to show that saw edge there? Well, all we can do with charcoal is light dark patterns, right? So we better recognize the light dark pattern. And if I give more to the ones near us and less as it goes closer to the thumb, that reinforces that near to far. And again, making the shadow like that to express table, not to copy what the shadow is actually doing. So the trouble is you've got to understand more or less the general basic physics of light. And you use that, but you use the physics of light for poetry. So not for technical description, right? If you're like a scientific illustrator or something like that, then yeah, you're doing technical description. But I didn't really tend to teach more the poetry side of art rather than the illustration, right? Some people call it the fine art. I don't know, some of those words, I've been a bit tainted. And so, you know, it helps to know what I'm up to. Because maybe you're doing something that's completely different. You're like, you know, always do it your way. You don't have to do it my way. But hopefully something you see me do or something will help you out or give you a clue or help you reach a little insight. So now with a kneaded eraser, I'm going to go back and clean up some things and start describing where the light and the highlight are going to be on these little forms. And as I do that, I think you're going to see these things come to life pretty quickly. Again, you want to be selective. We're not trying to copy every highlight we see, but we're going to use light and highlight to say what we want to say. Okay, get some of that thumb coming at you, and then tell them, look, this is the part that's facing up towards the light. There we go. Show them how that thumb is turned in relation to the light. And where's the light hitting that knuckle at? Smaller little knuckle back there. Right, so we've got the knuckle that we see, then we've got the middle knuckle, and then so kind of a da, da, da. Perhaps, maybe. Okay, so shadow on those saw things, and then also a little highlight here and there. And again, less as it goes back will help. So, you know, this is really complicated for 15 minutes. But if we had more time, our darks back on the sweater wouldn't quite be so dark, right? We would weaken that just a little bit, and maybe even weaken those edges a little bit. And then up here at the very end of that tack remover, I'd make those darks heavier, right? Those edges a little harder. And in that way, I could really say this is close and that is far. But I could not make the edges so hard on the end of that tack remover, and instead make the edges harder around the thumb and the finger, if that's where I wanted you to focus. And so that's how I mean we want to remember there's poetry to this, right? Technically near to far, well, of course, the end of that tack remover is going to be darker. But we also want to think, well, is that really where we want people looking, or would we rather them glance over that part and get further into the painting before we really lock them down? So I hope that makes a little sense. All right, coming down to the last few seconds, guys. As always, Miss Cindy's got it all together. And these images are up on the website, so you can find them there if you'd like a little more time to go at it. So, not the best hand in the world, but hey, for 15 minutes, I'll take it. I'll take it for 15 minutes. How'd you guys do? Are you guys still talking to me? No? No? Uh-oh, guys, I just realized I've loaded the wrong thing. This is the raw footage. We don't have any rewind tonight. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. That's not right. That's not right. Let's see if we can fix this. Can we fix this tragedy? Can we fix this tragedy? Everybody be patient. You'll get your 15 minutes. Be patient. But this is just wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. Let's see what we have here. with me. Hang with me. Oh, I didn't move it. I didn't move it, guys. All right. So forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. So we'll skip over this. Boom, 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 and get us right to... Yeah, that's it. Here we go. All right, so you're gonna see the last 30 seconds again, and then we do get a rewind. All right? Hopefully you're seeing, oh, no picture. That's right, because we were doing that. All right, so we'll go ahead. There we go. Let's take that picture away. So there's the square, there's the crack, there's the thumb, there's the forefinger, there's the tack remover. And now we're just gonna slightly modify, correct, and make three-dimensional those first few things that we saw. All right, thanks. I was just feeling empty without the rewind. I was feeling empty. So, man, how easy is this gonna be? How easy is this gonna be? So this guy is Carl Rungus. He was a animal wildlife painter. Did a lot in the Canadian Rockies. But good guy to look for composition. Composition. So what have I got there? Well, I've got his hand to his other hand, up to the shoulder, and around. Right? So I'm getting the big triangle. His head would be at the top. So again, 15 minutes isn't very long, so we want to be able to see. There's the collar. That gives me a lot of information. That ear tells me a lot of information. Right, and we can come back and push and shrink and make, but let's get the orientation of the whole before we see any details. Okay, his shoulders coming over. And around to the other shoulder. Then whichever direction the elbow is pointing, if it's pointing, you're going to have a curve like that. If I point it down, it curves. If it points out, if it points in. So you can look at where the elbow is pointing, and that'll be the apex of the curve from the wrist to the shoulder. Right? Those brushes are wonderful extensions and a different sort of gesture. They're great straights to all the curves of the human body. That's right. I'm talking about Carl Rungus's curves. I'm an art teacher. I get that privilege. No, we're all curved. We're all curved, right? We're made of curves and straights, curves and straights. Well, When we're drawing us, that's what we're made of. All right? Don't go cutting yourself open looking for curves and straights. That's not what I was saying. Not what I was saying. And notice how I'm kind of tracking the direction. Admittedly, I lose that in a little while just for the speed. The speed at which we're forced to work with this dreaded evil timer on us. But alas, we live in the world of time, so we got to do it. We got to do it. Right, again, try to pick what's going to be very descriptive. That tie is very descriptive. Right, it acts basically like a center line. Right, the separation from the arm, showing that it's going back just a little bit. That's descriptive. As I do these folds and stuff, I'm going to let them wrap around the arm, again, to help describe the form. Okay, a little shadow from the head because that head is on top of those shoulders. So remember, cast shadows are how we're going to connect things, or one of the ways we connect things. Okay, so I'm trying to indicate a little thumb there, and again, that forefinger wrapping over. And even if I don't get it right, just having that thought, and remember, I'm in my vine charcoal right now, so it's going to be easily erased. But we want to make marks that help us see what's happening. Right? In one way, these marks are more for us than they are the viewer. Right? Ultimately, we want them to look good. But when we start, we search. Right? They're searching, and then once you know what you found, right? Once you find the form of Carl Rungus, right? Well, describe those forms. And if you get the measures between the forms, get those forms the right size, the right distance, it will look like Carl Rungus. Right? But our priority has to be form, because of all the implications of that. And the implications of that are a good work of art. So again, so we've got underplanes there. All right, look at those first marks for the eyes. Not very pretty. It's not very, well, don't worry about it. Right? Don't worry about everything being pretty all the time. Focus on understanding, and the beauty will come. For those of you who weren't aware, beauty annihilates pretty. In my, well, I was going to say my humble opinion, but hey, in my professional opinion, hey, how's that? How's that for some confidence? Okay, so if you look at this now, you know, a layperson could be really, well, that doesn't look anything like him. Well, wait a minute. Getting it to look like him is just going to be moving those dark shapes around a little bit. But more important than that, we've got to get at what he's doing. Because sure, getting Carl, that's okay, but let's get Carl Rungus painting. Let's show him painting, the doingness of the painting. So make the action the priority. See how dynamic those straights can be? Quite a challenge. That first one was for sure. I have to admit, I first few minutes of that I thought, oh God, what have I done? What have I done to them? But after I got into it, it's like, no, this is a good problem, you know? One of my favorite professors in college always said, you should always be reading stuff you don't understand. Right? You should always try to be painting things you can't paint. That's how you're going to learn that's how you're going to learn to paint them. Right? That's how you're going to grow your understanding. By hanging around and reading things you don't quite understand. Now, you can't do something that's too far out of your range. Right? You have to be able to pull yourself up and with some effort there can be some understanding. Might take a few reads. But I've never forgotten that. Kind of blew my mind at the time, and I don't know. Right? It's kind of like saying you want to do things you can't do. That's how you get better. Right? Or from what you are doing, can you ask more? Can you do more with that? Again, notice how I'm starting to divide the light and the dark and how much that brings to what's happening here. And sometimes just cleaning up a little bit, right, can do a whole lot. Oh, right on. Yeah, do it over and over and over. Let me see what you come up with, Claudia. I'd love to see that hand. I'd love to see the hand. All right, it's going to get fancy here, guys. Are you ready? Are you ready? Watch how fast this transforms. Right? What was a really bad drawing of Carl Runge's painting. How much can we do in 3 minutes? How much can we do in 3 minutes? And that doesn't mean how many things you can do, but what few things can you do to push this thing forward? That is the knowledge the artist must have. What does it take to move this forward? It's all right, Paula. It's all right. These aren't about them looking good right now. Just think of them more about, it's almost like your work, you're starting to jog, when you're starting to jog. When we first get out, get running, oh man, oh, I hate it. And then eventually we start seeing the benefits of it, right? And then if you get good at it, you actually enjoy your time running. That's not me, if you're wondering, but theoretically speaking. Because again, my Carl Runges doesn't look very fancy, But you see how by showing the doingness of him and giving him an environment in which he's doing it, again, a cast shadow, ooh, that brush just landed on the palette. And by giving this guy context, what's going to happen is I'm not relying so much on my bad drawing of him. There's other elements that's helping a viewer out. And in all seriousness, guys, 15 minutes is not very long to do something like this. But that's also why we're doing it. It's a training to learn to see the big stuff first. Right? It's kind of a training in thinking and seeing and, you know, what is important. And that doesn't necessarily happen right out of the gate. Okay, so be okay with it not being okay for a little while. If that makes sense. If that makes sense. Because I promise it will get better. It will get better. And you keep working and showing up, it'll make a lot of sense. A lot of these people that you're seeing in class and stuff have just been with me mainly about a year, and the growth has been incredible. You know, and a lot of the growth is because they worked. But Paula, you've worked too. You've turned things in. I've seen you work. So we're just going to give that work a little direction and correct some misunderstandings as we go. And voila. You will be an artist in your own right. But, you know, just to be clear, guys, it doesn't happen without some work, with some effort. With doing some bad paintings, some bad drawings. Right, so he's got a palette, it's got a few paintings there. That's about all the time we have for that one, but again, but the purpose is what's he doing, and can we make it feel like there's a three-dimensional space there? Three-dimensional space. All right, so a rewind here. So the whole 15 minutes, and I think it's about maybe a little under a minute. They're not human. It's just forms. It's just forms. I don't see any humans. I'm just drawing cylinders, tubes, right? Cubes. I know, guys. I'm making light out of it, but this isn't easy. This isn't easy, and it won't always be this hard, but every now and then I think it's important to, all right, let's push it a little bit. Let's push it. Let's see what we can do. All right, well, Susan's cursing. She's saying crikey. Isn't that a curse word in Australian? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, yes, and just to rub some salt in your wound, Cindy's putting up the reference images right there. But in all seriousness, guys, you'll get more out of struggling and doing bad drawings, trying to understand and work out these problems, than you will on kind of doing a nice drawing and something you know how to do. The purpose of this is to push us forward, right? We're trying to grow. In order to do better understandings, we have to become better artists. And that's part of the process. Okay, again, Sketch Club's not to turn in, we're not going to be submitting any of this work to the Met or anything else. It's to just, get art strong, right? Work out those muscles a little bit. All right, so thank you, everybody. You did great. Be back tomorrow morning with some morning feedback, morning jumpstart, at 8 a.m. on YouTube. And yes, if you had trouble with that, we can get started. We've got the Fundamental Forms course, Charcoal, on our online school. So check that out. If you're not sure if it's for you or not, there's a 7-lesson preview for free. Boom. When you sign up, it takes an email and a password, and then you're in the school. You can take 7 lessons for free and go from there. All right, everybody. Love you guys so much. Thanks for the effort. I know that was a tough one tonight, but let's talk about it in 6 months. Let's talk about how tough tonight was in 6 months. After you get strong like Pettit. After you're strong like Pettit, 6 months, man. All right, guys. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.